Hello folks, Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. This video is sponsored by Moxfield and we'll take a look at them after round 1. Today we are going to be playing with Corey's Armageddon deck list. Corey sent me a couple of ideas and was like, hey, I want to jam Armageddon and Legacy, how do I do it? And I kind of think there's two forking paths for playing Armageddon and Legacy. I think the low-hanging fruit is to take some sort of mono-white, stompy stacks shell and play a bunch of like Trinispheres and Crucible of Worlds. That wasn't super interesting to me. I feel like I've played a lot of Prison on the channel recently, so I wanted to try something a little bit more creative. And one of the things Corey sent me was kind of a Mavericky, Dark Depths sort of deck that looks to use Armageddon as a pump spell, oddly enough. So Armageddon is going to destroy all lands, and we can use this to grow Knight of the Reliquary. You've played Legacy for a long, long time. You might have seen similar things with something like a Terravore previously. So our Elvish Reclaimers, as well as our Knight of the Reliquaries, get larger if we go and like cast an Armageddon, and that's kind of cool. And we've got something even spicier in the sideboard. With Titania, whenever a land you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, you create a 5/3 green elemental creature token. So if we manage to do that and cast an Armageddon, we should also be presenting a lethal board the next turn. I think the Titania is a little slow for Legacy right now, but in any sort of grindy matchup, like that is absolutely the dream. So I wanted to still include it in the deck list. Generally speaking, our game plan is to ultimately copy a Dark Depths using Thespian Stage to create a 2020 Merit Lodge token. That's going to be our easy way to win. But just beating down with Elvish Reclaimer or using Knight of the Reliquary as a wasteland machine is totally fine and good. Flagstones of Trocaire is particularly good with Armageddons, as well as with Elvish Reclaimers, as a way to get extra value out of your lands, and it can also kind of make your crop rotations even better as well. So, how are we going to Armageddon? And I think the answer is like, we're okay with Armageddoning because either we will have the larger creature or maybe the only creature in play, or we will be able to recover from it better than our opponents will. Ramunap Excavators, I think, are better than Life from the Loams. Because like with Life from the Loam, there's some tension between the number of lands in your graveyard that you want for Elvish Reclaimer and Knight of the Reliquary and some of the other aspects of the deck. Ramunap Excavator is kind of like Life from the Loam, but like we can fetch it with a Green Sun, and I'm all about the toolbox aspects of this deck. So the big question with this league is going to be, is this cute thing that we're doing actually going to be good? Like, is this going to be better than running more copies of, say, Prismatic Ending, or having some of the things like Collector Oof and Sylvan Safekeeper that I've relegated to the sideboard in the main deck? The answer is probably no. However, will this be more fun? Yes. Yes, I think it will be. There's a little bit of joy in casting an Armageddon and just like nuking the board from orbit. Like it feels fun. As far as the sideboard goes, we're essentially looking to fight against the combo decks with our post-sideboard games because, like, we're not playing Thalias, we're not playing Hate Bears, no Force of Wills here, just good, honest Armageddon magic. That's what we've got going on. Although we do want to have a little bit of flexibility to answer some additional card types and problematic decks in post-sideboard games. Plus the Titania. Like, please let me Armageddon Titania once in the league. With that being said, I think let's go ahead and hop into it. If you end up wanting to try out this deck, you can get the video, or sorry, not the video, you can get the deck list in the video description. And also there will be all of my sponsorship information, donation deck list stuff, all that jazz. Let's battle. All right. Hand is kind of unimpressive. Just cast a turn 2 Endurance, turn 3 Armageddon? Are we into that? I mean, maybe we're into that. Really depends what we're playing against for whether or not I'm into this. Also not sure if I'm supposed to play out the Mox Diamond on turn 1 to play around discard, but it plays into Prismatic Ending, so I think that's a nope. I'm gonna just play a Savannah rather than starting on the fetch land, I think. Got a bunch of land in hand, and I don't necessarily have to go turbo here. Looks like the last Magic Online update changed the default font size. Mountain. Am I gonna get punished? Am I gonna get punished for not playing this land out? With a turn 1 Blood Moon? That's a Fury. Palace of the Void is fine. Blood Moon wouldn't have been. How do I feel about this Dark Depths? I feel sort of like I just want to blow up my opponent's lands forever. Like, if my opponent doesn't moon, the Dark Depths is really good. And otherwise I want nothing to do with this land. I think my plan here involves getting a little further ahead on board. Go ahead and play out this land. Call it a turn. And we'll see how the Armageddon plan feels. Like, we both have a piece of artifact mana acceleration, which makes casting Armageddon a little bit awkward. My opponent performs a little bit better on a lower land count. No, what is this? When it enters the battlefield, you take the initiative. Whenever it attacks, exile the top card of your library. If you've completed a dungeon, you may play that card this turn without making its mana cost. Otherwise, you can play that card. Okay, that's neat. Absolutely was not expecting that. So I know this one from Commander. You get a basic land for the first one. All right, 100% was not expecting that. I know I'm fetching. I know I'm grabbing a forest. I know I am casting this card. From there it gets a little more interesting. I would like to take the initiative, because if my opponent puts 2 +1/+1 counters on that creature, all of a sudden I am scared of it. Okay, so this turn got really weird. So, I can attack, get my basic land. Oh, it goes into hand. That probably makes it good. Yeah, I think I'm down with the attack. And we'll see how my opponent feels about this. We can trade. Okay, so they are going to take the trade. All right, so my opponent could start going down the right side pretty easily. I think I'm interested in just Ramunap Wasteland this turn, rather than Armageddoning my opponent, but I'm not 100% sure. Like, I can Armageddon this turn. That doesn't guarantee Ramunap. I think I'm into Ramunap first. And just, like, doing a Wasteland this turn. It still takes out the Ancient Tomb and pinches my opponent's mana. Yeah, this is going to be a really interesting game, I think. Okay, yeah, they're going to go down the right side. Okay, opponent's deck is sweet. I am so into this. Caves of Chaos Adventurer. That one gets written down. Okay, so there's that mountain that I knew about. Oh ho ho! Oh ho ho ho! Anji's Ravager attacks each turn if able. So it's a treasure token next turn. Man, these creatures are lining up better than the normal, well, I guess air quotes, normal cards that I would expect to see here. Opponent's build is super interesting. Like, I really like it. So I'm going to set my opponent back on mana here. I will search for a Plains card, and I will just take a regular Plains here. And we'll call it a turn. I would love to draw a well, I guess I wouldn't love to draw a removal spell, right? Like, this stops my Swords to Plowshares. It doesn't stop my Prismatic Ending. Alright. You get your treasure. Okay, there is a Soul Land. I wonder if there's another one of those initiative thingies coming. Okay. It is all sorts of real shit up in here, folks. This is... Alright. So, that is a playable land, but my opponent has played one this turn already. Yeah, these are 3/3s. I don't get to block this. I'm just taking a big ouchie here. I have no Thespian Stage sort of card covered here. What's my next play? Hope to draw some sort of Dark Depths affiliated card, probably. Like, hope to draw a crop rotation, Thespian Stage, something like that. I don't think I can let my opponent have that 4-1. Well, like, they're going to get it back. This isn't great as a blocker. Alright, I am going to take the initiative purely to pull a land out of my deck, because I think I'm dead my following turn. Alright. Oh no! I'm an idiot. Okay, I don't have another basic land here. Okay. Don't 100% know that I regret that line or anything, but... Oh, shit, I should have played the Dark Depths from Graveyard. That matters in some situations where I draw another Mox Diamond. I think the game's over before that mistake matters, but that was objectively a mistake. Fuck? Man, like, the back end of Fable copying this card is horrifying. I am so glad these initiative cards are on Magic Online now. Holy moly. Alright. Yeah. So immediately after I play this match, I am tweeting about this card. Alright, yeah. I am expecting to feel the pain here. Let's F6. Let's see what they got. Okay, sure. I'm at 6. Very nearly dead. Opponent gets the skeleton. Holy hell, folks. I can draw Thespian Stage, play Thespian Stage, have 2 blockers. Nope. Nope. Am I dead? I block this one. I take lethal damage through it. Yeah, opponent needed that Fury there. Or wait. 1, 2. Yeah, opponent needed the Fury, otherwise I would have been at 1. Well, damn. Okay. That was a beating. Okay. Yeah. So, ending is probably good. Like, I didn't draw many 1-drops that game, so, like, the Chalice thing wasn't great. My endurances that I normally would lean on to just, like, beat the ever-loving crap out of all of my opponent's X2 creatures, like 2/2 creatures, is not quite as good here. I still probably keep them all, but... So... I probably don't get to Armageddon versus this opponent. Like, as we saw, since they have, like, that initiative thing that, like, finds them land and continues to give them value, I probably have to respect things that get into the red zone a little bit better. I'm looking at some number of these 3 cards, I think. Blood Moon is something that still, like, very much can happen. I'm kind of interested in Titania as a curve topper. Maybe my opponent's deck is too fast. Maybe it's too fast. I like the Force of Vigors. I'll probably cut down on 1 crop rotation to do that. Although maybe crop rotation is better than ramming up Excavator. Again, since my opponent's not just playing 2/2 creatures, things are a little bit trickier. How is this? Mox Diamond, discard Dryad Arbor, play Savannah, cast Elvish Reclaimer, and probably work toward the Dark Depths. This is going to be a keep. There's some worlds where I actually discard the Dark Depths since it doesn't make mana. And I just, like, focus on Elvish Reclaimer, Endurance, Swords to Plowshares to start things off. That line will be very bad versus a Fury. Dark Depths line kind of requires me to get another land. They have different strengths. I think I am going to take the Dryad Arbor line. It's bad versus Fury. I don't know. Like, maybe the combo is the answer. I think I could sit here and think about this play for 20 minutes, honestly. I'll go ahead and pitch the Dryad Arbor, play the Reclaimer, play out Savannah, which holds up Swords to Plowshares for an initial creature. Okay. Are we doing a creature turn 1? Okay, there's a Chrome Mox, which is fine. Spirit Guide under there. Into the Chaos Adventurer. Yeah. This card is dope. Don't sleep on this one, folks. Okay. So now I can go ahead and Swords to Plowshares that out of the way. Ooh. It must be worth taking the initiative, right? I'm going to say the answer is yes. The initiative scares me. Like, it is a lot of value. So let's grab this basic land. I want a forest since I have endurance. And then I probably just play that land post-combat since my opponent knows about it. All right. And then next turn, I can make a super dummy thick endurance. Okay. Opponent's just given up that game. I respect that. They're very far behind. Okay. I'm thinking about whether or not I want to cut the Bojuka Bog. I'm thinking whether or not like crop rotation on the draw is better than Bojuka Bog. Bojuka Bog can just be discarded to Mox Diamond. Possible on the draw, I want to increase my green count by just playing one more card, so my Force of Vigors are slightly better. I don't know. Like, my opponent is going to have turn 1 Chalice so many times on the draw. So many times. I still think I'm okay with this. The Titania may be better. But these games have been decided quickly, so I don't know that I'm going to get to these 6-mana situations. Okay. This is a very good hand in a lot of ways. I will be keeping this hand. This hand becomes very bad if my opponent plays turn 1 Chalice. But I think I'm just going to accept that, because like I have mana denial plus both halves of my combo plus the ability to grind with the Reclaimer. I think I just have to accept that like Chalice is good against me with this hand and keep it. Okay, if I don't get mooned, Wasteland will be very good against this. Ugh. And Fable of the Mirror Breaker is so good. Because that mitigates the power of my Wasteland immediately. I still think I'm Wastelanding. Like, I'm still pretty confident that that is correct. And then I will Mox Diamond, probably discarding one of the Thespian stages. I'll play a Reclaimer. Unfortunately, until next turn, this is just a 1-2. Next turn, one way or another, I can grow this thing. But I'm just going to be in the range of Bone Crusher Giant type removal spells this turn. Okay, just one card discarded there. I eat 2. My opponent makes a treasure. That occurs. And we see how bad the rest of this turn cycle is for me. Not bad. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to let the god, like this shaman attack again. Very unsure about that. I think the removal spell is more important on the copy creature. But I am not 100% certain. Like, if my opponent doesn't have another land, stopping this attack is really important. But if some things go wrong, it's very different. This is awkward for me. Because I was really planning on blocking this turn, but this constrains that line. Alright, so be it. So, I sacrifice Flagstones. Search my library for a Plains card, and put it into play. So now my Elvish Reclaimer ability resolves, and I will grab my Forest. And this means that the Blood Moon, while keeping me from comboing, doesn't necessarily, like, keep me from casting my spells. So now I'm just hoping to ultimately create the larger creature. Okay. Well, this goes here. We don't let that untap. Absolutely not. And now it's just a question of, like, how offensively versus defensively am I playing? I don't think I'm the beatdown right now. I feel like the control deck right now, but it becomes, like, awkward if my opponent can start hiding behind, like, 5/3 creature. There is an Anji's Ravager. I'm not sure how I feel about that one. Okay, so we're gonna do a fun little trick here, alright? So, we're still gonna activate our Elvish Reclaimer end of turn, sacrificing a Thespian stage, and I'm gonna grab a Dark Depths out of the deck. This enters with no counters, so that if I draw Force of Vigor, it's not a problem. I think I hold this card still. I'm kind of interested in killing the Anji's Ravager with it, and not letting my opponent draw cards. Maybe that's not true. Maybe I have to believe in the deck to have some reasonable draws. Like, Prismatic Ending also answers blood. Holy hell. Okay. I'll just do that at my opponent's end of turn. I don't think I have a reason to do it now. Opponent can't instant speed Blood Moon or anything. Yeah, I think I'm going to take an attack now to drop my opponent to 20. I just want to make sure that my Merit Lodge does actually kill next turn. Green, 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 green. Yep. All right, so I'm good with Force of Vigor. I can technically get rid of a treasure token here, but I'd rather have, like, the flexibility of getting rid of something that scares me more. All right, so I will take 2 from this attack. Going to 14. Okay, that is a Fury. That is A-okay with me. That does not fly. Goodbye, my friend. And I think still in second main here. My opponent played a land. No, I will go to the end step. Treasure token, Blood Moon. 1, 2, 3. I guess I tap this. 4. And then this produces my 20/20. And my opponent has conceded the game. That was a super interesting match. Opponent's deck is cool. I'm gonna go tweet about it. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. Moxfield is a deck building website for Magic the Gathering that has a lot of really cool functionality. So if you are looking to store your decks online and be able to subdivide them into all sorts of folders and organizational systems, this site may be for you. In addition to just storing deck lists, you can also keep track of which cards you have by clicking nice little bubbles next to the cards. Okay, round 2. I think I'm interested in keeping this hand. There's some potential awkwardness in some scenarios, like where a Chalice of the Void happens or something. Or where I get wastelanded if I fetch a dual land with this, which I might. Bayou? Thoughtseize? What is this going to be? The answer is I don't care yet. I cast Wasteland. Okay, all right. So you don't technically cast Wasteland, right? But, like, I play Wasteland this turn 100% of the time. Like, I have 3 lands in hand, and I get to push that decision back a turn cycle about, like, what I do with the rest of this stuff. We could be something on the, like, Ant spectrum. It could be a green-black mid-range deck. Could be a Nick Fit deck. Be like an Abzan Maverick deck with main deck Thoughtseizes, although that's a little less likely. Luda Delta probably means a bug deck. Bad lands. Okay. So, is this Rihanna? Fuck. No. Abort. So there's good news in that I have a main deck Bojuka Bog. Bad news in that my opponent might make a Grizzle Daddy. We now know that it is pretty safe to grab Savannah here. So, like, I do that. I play play Elf, Pray, and, like, we see if my opponent has it. I took them off some land, so it's possible they don't. Do I have Caracas? I probably have Caracas, right? I do have Caracas. That helps. But this turn is potentially deadly. Yeah. Now, my opponent might grab Chancellor. Okay. They're going for Grizzlebrand. And we'll see how bad this turn can get. Alright. Unmask me. I don't really care about the unmask. Like, the Flagstones is the thing in my hand that has relevant text. Alright, -1 green sun for me. Second unmask. -2 green sun for me. That keeps a Reclaimer from coming into play a little bit later. Oh no. Still more things. Okay, it's just eluding. How cool would it be if I just Yu-Gi-Oh! Heart of the Cards drew the Caracas, though? That I could, like, attack with Elvish Reclaimer. Just putting my opponent to 8 matters for, like, reanimate type reasons. Sure. Opponent discarded a Lotus Petal there. Rats. Okay, didn't set myself up for greatness. This will be Flagstone's Pass. This turns this into a 3/4 and gets me, unfortunately, a tapped Caracas. And in all likelihood, with my opponent being able to do another draw 7 here, I probably can't win. But stranger things have happened. I don't know about playing that fetch land. Okay, I mean, this occurs. Chancellor is in play. And I get to do Elvish Reclaimer nonsense end of turn. Is there a Grizzlebrand timeline? Sorry, is there a Merit Lodge timeline? So I get another Savannah. and a Dark Depths, and then I just make a Thespian Stage, block Grizzlebrand, take 5, go to 7. This seems fine, actually. Never forget the underplayed line of just kill your opponent. It's pretty respectable. Alright. So there's my Savannah. Here's my Dark Depths. Here's my Thespian Stage. Against Reanimator, there shouldn't be anything that I have to worry about for why I have to make this right now. So I'm chilling. Okay, sure. Now, if we end up in a Tomb for, like, what is it, Sarah's Emissary situation, and we can also make that, that ends up being awkward for me. Because this is exactly 12 damage if my opponent gets protection from creatures. Okay, it is an Ashen Rider. That's not great, in case you're not familiar with that one. That's an ETB or dies, exile target permanent. Yeah, you can Thoughtseize me. You know about that prismatic ending. It's gone. I do not believe that is the correct play here. I believe that is an egregious error, actually. Because, like, you can attack with both creatures, force the Merit Lodge block, lose one of these, and then get rid of my Merit Lodge permanently. No Cabal Therapy in graveyard or anything. So this needs to get pointed at my Elvish Reclaimer. Okay, opponent figured that part out. So that occurs. Okay. How good's your draw 7? Are you going for an attack? You are going for an attack. That's fine. Let's stage. Target Dark Depths. Make my copy. Keep the copy without ice counters. Make my 20/20. Go to blocks. I will still kill the Grizzlebrand. I have enough mana to crop rotation for Sajiri Step to get a kill already. So let's just take that out of play. And see if my opponent can do something else cool. Alright, it's an Animate Dead. That returns Grizzlebrand. That's fine. Pro Black still gets a kill here. That is a dead draw. So if I don't attack, my opponent hits me for 9. If I do attack, my opponent blocks with Ashen Rider and hits me for 11. They don't know what I have. So do I bluff Endurance or Swords to Plowshares, or do I just, like, attack and see? 9 kills me. No, like, it's such a good play to make this block. I think I have to bluff Endurance. Playing this. And just hoping my opponent doesn't go for the kill, because they've got it if they do. Alright, yeah, this one does fly. A brief moment of hesitation where I thought it didn't. But yeah, I think my opponent's Ashen Rider play the previous turn was pretty bad. Like, I had lethal top decks through this tax. Alright. I'll pass the turn here. And see if they're willing to go all in. Oh wait, do they know my entire hand already? Okay. That lets them know that they 100% have lethal. But I should have thought about whether or not they knew both of those cards already. I think the Wasteland was my draw for turn. 4x Leyline of the Void. Get in here. Not super interested in Prismatic Ending in this matchup. Not interested in bringing in the Titania. I really want to be playing these Armageddons. But, like, my opponent operates on 1.5 lands, so fortunately that's probably out. And then it's a question of, like, is the fringe utility of any of this stuff better than cards that are currently in the deck? Ramunap is not very good. Neither is Collector Oof. That probably hurts me more than my opponent, although it's close. Really needs Safekeeper. Force of Vigor only has fringe utility. The fringe utility is that it can blow up Serenity. This is my opponent's primary answer to Leyline. I think I'm not interested in Ramunap, at least not 2 copies. And since Knight represents, like, Bojuka Bog and Caracas, I think I'm never green sunning for a Ramunap. So I'm going to play both copies of Force of Vigor in anticipation of my opponent's potentially good sideboard cards. This is a tricky hand, because a Thoughtseize blows this hand right open, and this hand is also a little awkward versus, like, a Serenity or something. I'm not sure that I'm actually interested in keeping this one. Like, it has the turn 0 graveyard hate, but I'm so vulnerable to discard. I don't know. Like, it's Mox Diamond, pitch Wasteland, play Windswept Heath, have 2 lands in graveyard. The Knight is large. The Knight can find Bog. If I cast Knight, though, I don't have Endurance up anymore. Not sure this one's good enough. Like, this isn't better than a Leyline hand. I'm much more interested in an Elvish Reclaimer hand as well. I think I'm going to ship this one. This is a keep. And now I have to decide whether or not I play the Elvish Reclaimer on turn 1. Yavimaya always goes back. It's just a question of, like... Oh, shit. Chancellor of the Annex. Well, my decision has been made for me. I guess I lead on Yavimaya? Yes, I lead on Yavimaya, and then I can play Flagstones next turn to hold up Swords to Plowshares. Alright. How bad is it? Am I just getting thought seized? Alright, it is a looting. Grizzlebrand and Chancellor in there. I'm going to pop out this trigger so that I remember it. Maze of Ith. With no other green card for Endurance, I probably can't play out Elvish Reclaimer. It's just not super safe to. So I think this becomes Flagstone's Pass. That line is just really awkward versus a Thoughtseize. But I think it's where I'm at. There is another looting. I'm very happy with all of these things going to the bin before I blow this Endurance in response to a discard spell. Alright, that's 3 creatures in the bin. Alright, do I cast Endurance end of turn and just nuke this graveyard? Getting rid of the tax. It entirely depends on whether or not I draw another green card. I guess I can wait. Like, that decision is still the same later. Alright, I think I'm just going to play out the Maze of Ith, even though that shows off information. It currently taps for green because of Yavimaya. And in 1 turn, I can hardcast an Endurance. Thoughtseize target me. Alright, so much for the hardcast Endurance plan. I have to pitch cast this because of the Chancellor tax from the beginning of the game. I will pay for. Then we will send this graveyard to the Shadow Realm. And you can have my Swords to Plowshares. Actually, I made a little misplay. I am absolutely supposed to Swords to Plowshares my own Endurance there, so that it is not in the graveyard to be reanimated. It also puts me a couple life ahead. That's a misplay on my end. Okay. Alright, they are thought-seizing themselves. They've got an Assassin's Trophy. Alright, so that'll be their air quotes last card. Now, this Grizzlebrand is not as good as it looks, because I have Maze of Ith in play. Maybe I can do something about that Assassin's Trophy in some capacity. Before it does this. Looks like that's a no. Man. That's a shame. So my opponent just Assassin Trophies this. And then gets to draw 7 with Grizzlebrand. And that unloading is very good. I don't have anything I can do with my mana here, so no need to float. I have access to either basic. I am going to grab Forest just in case with Flagstones I end up wanting to get Plains for some reason. But now it's really awkward for me. Because, like, I very much had a plan and it kind of fell apart. I can work towards Merit Lodge, or I can work towards, like, having Bojuka Bog. I have a lot of options. It's mostly tough if my opponent can produce a second creature right now. They can't produce the second creature right now. Bojuka Bog does so much work in helping me, like, buy time to stabilize in this game. Okay, cool. God damn it. Ugh. That was literally the only card in my deck I didn't want to draw. That is very frustrating. That is very, very, very frustrating. Holy shit. And I don't have Round Up Excavator, so I'm not getting it back from my graveyard to replay. So I gotta work towards a combo kill, I guess. I'm gonna play the Savannah that they know about. And I can get a Apt Caracas. I only have 1 Maze of Ith, right? 1 Maze of Ith, 1 Caracas, 1 Bojuka Bog. Yeah, I want to rotate here. I'm probably getting Thespian Stage first, because Thespian Stage, if I get it tapped now, I can play Bojuka Bog on my turn, nuke my opponent's No, that doesn't really work, right? Because nope, that I can make another Bojuka Bog, but not in a meaningful way. Yeah, life's bad. Getting hit for 7 here. If my opponent can reanimate another creature, I think they just win. Yeah. I think I'm just a touch too slow. Like, I think that Ashen Rider beats me. Yeah. That targets this Elvish Reclaimer. This is a 4/5. I need to rotate away the flagstones in the deck a bit. Grab a Savannah. And then the next choice is harder. I can work towards drawing the exact other side of the Merit Lodge combo. Block Grizzlebrand next turn, take 4, go to 2. Or I can get Caracas, bounce Grizzlebrand, take 4 from Ashen Rider, and then have like Swords to Plowshares as a potential out to it. Or Force of Vigor. Or I boarded out Prismatic Ending because it's normally not very good. Kind of nice in this spot. I don't know that I can get Sajiri Step to just protect my creature here. I'm just under so much pressure. I think I'm going to try the Caracas baseline. I need some help. I also basically need my opponent not to just have anything in like 12 cards. Alright, goodbye, Reclaimer. Yeah, there's the Grizzlebrand, draw 7. And how bad is it? Because I'm scared. There's a Chancellor in the graveyard. My opponent has all the mana in the world. Okay, we're going deeper. Okay, Dark Ritual. Reanimate my Endurance. Yeah, I mean, I talked about that mistake already. Also shrinks my graveyard. I could be at 10 life here. Or sorry, 9 life. Which is another turn, because this is currently 7 damage. Oh, disgusting. Yeah. So that is a Chancellor on top of that. So even if I was at 9 life, this is still lethal with the Grizzlebrand bounce. Yeah, that's just too slow. I take 9 in the air that I can't do anything about. We were close. We were real close. But my awkwardness in stumbling in those first couple of turns, just because I didn't draw another green card so I could play out the Elvish Reclaimer, was rough. And the follow-up of drawing my one of Bojuka Bog when I needed it to be in the deck was daggers. Alright, this hand's going to be a keep. Opponent says big fan. We'll see if you're still a big fan after I Dark Depth you on turn 3. This is turn 1 Yavimaya, turn 2 Dark Depths or Stage, turn 3 the other one, Fake Merit Lodge. I've got a little bit of room to deviate from my plan, but not a lot. My color fixing isn't great. I'm actually not going to be very good versus a... Oh geez, opponent mulligan to 4. Let the record show that if the Bojuka Bog was not in my hand, I would be passing the turn with crop rotation up, I think. But the Bojuka Bog is in my hand. So here we are. Possible I'm still supposed to hold up crop rotation for Caracas. Oh, it's Misty Rainforest. What Misty Rainforest deck mulls to 4? Ah. That Misty Rainforest deck. I'm just going to check. I don't have a Tabernacle, I don't think. I do not. I have a Maze of Ith. I don't think that matters. Yeah, I think I'll just play a stage here and pass my turn. It would be really hard for my opponent to glimpse off from, like, the amount of mana that they are currently at. Like, they can play a Cradle and do some cool stuff. Yeah, I will take this hit. Puts me to 18. At the end of turn, I have 2 Yavamayas. So I'm going to go ahead and sacrifice a Yavamaya to just get the other Yavamaya. Grow the graveyard a bit. And I'm not expecting my opponent has anything that really deals with Dark Depths in game 1. Accordingly, I'm just going to go ahead and make this now. Dark Depths is allowed to tap for mana right now. So, since I cycled my Yavimaya, this is now a 3/4. I think it's fine to make an attack in with this. Like, I'm not expecting my opponent to be able to create lethal through a Merit Lodge-sized blocker. But they can certainly try. Okay, there's an untap for the Nettle Sentinel. There's a Gaia's Cradle. My opponent could Natural Order. Green Sun, sure. Okay, Endurance is a blocker. That buys a turn. Well, okay, it would. But I'm about to get pro-green and ruin that dream. I don't even need to use the crop rotation. I don't need to put a spell in. Oh, opponent's also Hellbent, so, like, it's whatever. Alright. Land. Activate this. Sacrifice this. Get pro-green. And opponent sees the writing on the walls. Now, unfortunately, I don't really have a lot here that's good versus elves. I have 2 more prismatic endings that I can bring in. Leyline's not great. Mindbig Trap's not great. This stuff's all not great. Titania is super sus. How many Armageddons do I want to play? I don't really mind that card. Like, this is going to sound weird, but, like, Gaia's Cradle is super important to my opponent's deck functioning. And if I have, like, Armageddons and Wastelands and Reclaimer and Knight all finding Wasteland and Ramunap recurring it, there's a non-zero number of games that I can win via land destruction. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to cut Bojuka Bog, because I don't know if my opponent's playing Fiend Artisan or not. Like, my opponent didn't play very many cards. So, like, the more copies of Nettle Sentinel my opponent has, the fewer copies of Fiend Artisan my opponent probably has. I think I'm planning on killing my opponent via Merit Lodge, though. I'm gonna cut 1 Armageddon. And then, I don't know about this Bojuka Bog. I'm gonna cut it. Like, if it gets to the point where my opponent is grinding value via, Fiend Artisan, I've probably lost anyway. I have the full combo in my hand and 2 removal spells. This is absolutely a keep. The Wasteland's not bad either. Although its value fluctuates a lot depending on what my opponent's opener is. There is a Nettle Sentinel. I'll probably just play my sorcery speed card here. Oh, cool. That's very good. So let's prismatic ending away this Nettle Sentinel. Oh, there's another one. There's a Cradle. There's a Shepherd. This is all fine. Probably just let all of that happen. I think I'm comfortable slowing this game down. I think I'm just going to do this. Wastelanding the Gaia's Cradle. Swords to Plowsharing the Allosaurus Shepherd. Like, the Nettle Sentinel can, like, maybe do some cute mana production things with a Birch Lore or something, but there's a lot of worlds where this is just like a 2/2 that attacks me once and then stays tapped for a while. Ooh, there is the aforementioned Birch Lore Rangers. But opponent does not have a follow-up play. Alright, so I go land, crop rotation, turn flagstones into a combo piece, play the other combo piece, produce Merit Lodge. Is probably the direction that I end up going here. I will soon have a decent number of lands in graveyard, so I don't think I have to play the fetch land for any reason. I'll go ahead and play this past my turn. Alright. Ooh, it is Glimpse time. Okay. Like, opponent's on 2 cards. I'm not terrified. Like, there's a lot of times where this is just a draw 1. What is that? That is an Elvish Visionary. Oh, that is fine. So if this hits 1 mana elves, my opponent can continue by tapping both of these creatures. Okay, they did. There's a Shepherd. Definitely spooky. Okay, they're still going. I guess I need to just always yield to some stuff at this point. Like, it's happening. Now my opponent can bounce an elf and do an untap. Which is exactly what we see. This kills me a lot of the time next turn. Yeah, like if opponent finds a Cradle, I'd probably die next turn. And there's another Wirewood. Bad news for Phil fans. At this point, while I won't say that I've confirmed it, it's less likely that my opponent is playing a 4x. Oh, there's the Allosaurus Shepherd. A 4x, like, Fiend Artisan build. They might have one as a tutor target or something. But that was a very good turn. We'll see if I die next turn. Alright, crop rotation, sacrificing flagstones. Yes, I use this ability. I'll pick up a Savannah with the flagstones ability. Crop rotation can grab me a Thespian stage. Then I'll play out the Dark Depths from hand, make my combo piece. So I can't successfully take Allosaurus Shepherd like permanently out of play because of these Wirewoods. So I think I'm just going to stay the course here and probably just make my combo piece now. Or sorry, like do my combo now. In post sideboard games, there's things that can happen though. So like my opponent could do some absolute untapping shenanigans with double Wirewood Symbiote, or like just on their turn do something cool. I can also just like die through this as a blocker, right? Like my opponent has a good number of attackers. A lot of this here is just like, do they have the Cradle? They have the Cradle. Okay, that's a lot of attackers. I will be very obviously blocking a Wirewood Symbiote. Oh wait, did I just do a dumb? I just did a dumb. I'm supposed to block one of these. Supposed to block one of these, take 5, 10, 11, 12 damage, and crack back. Yeah, I just did a dumb. Yeah, I just didn't do combat math. Whoops, okay. Yeah, I read that as desperation attack, and I didn't count how many creatures my opponent actually had in play for that Cradle. Okay, that one's on me. Do I want one more Armageddon for when I am on the play? I think I'll take one more Armageddon on the play over a Ramunap. This hand has a turn 1 removal spell, but doesn't actually combo very quickly. I'm not sure how I feel about it. Because, like, the Prismatic Ending eats up my turn 2 mana. And that's, like, fine. But I'd rather just have access to both of my combo pieces innately. How does this hand play out? Probably okay. I think I keep this. It's awkward, but I think I keep this and get rid of the green sun. I'm not thrilled with it. But Flagstones on turn 1, Windswept Heath on turn 2, Prismatic Ending, whatever, first elf they play. And then I can work towards blowing up my opponent's lands or just comboing, depending on what exactly I draw. I don't want to play out the fetch land on turn 1, because I'm never going to crop rotation in response to a Thoughtseize. Prismatic Ending is not an elf. Or, like, Prismatic Ending does not answer a land card like that. Alright, so this is going to be Yavimaya pass. Unless I want to Wasteland my opponent. I don't know that I want to Wasteland my opponent when, like, Armageddon is part of my plan. But it's, like, not that bad, because, like, the Flagstones replaces itself here. And I Prismatic Ending the next card that comes down. Alright, I'm into it. But this is, like, very much diverging from the plan that I had with this hand, and it could get into some weird territory. Alright, there's the Wasteland. Blow up Dryad Arbor. I kind of hope that I, like, blow up an elf, then play Flagstones into something else, do some cool Armageddon shit. I can make a pretty decently sized knight or something like that if I draw one. Ooh, it's another Dryad Arbor. That's just one more card to get caught up in an Armageddon. I guess, like, there's some, like, natural order type scenarios that could end up being pretty awkward for me. I don't really want to draw more land here. Alright. Prismatic Ending away, Reclaimer, play Flagstones, pass, and hopefully I get a... It's not going to be a 4-for-1, but hopefully I kill 4 of my opponent's permanents with Armageddon. Like, that's kind of the hope here. My opponent might be on board, like, ahead on board considerably when I cast an Armageddon, though. So, like, there's some worlds where I just, like, can't physically do it. I think I can probably beat 2 power and endurance. Yeah, I think I'm good with just wiping out these lands. It's a little awkward if my opponent plays Cradle, though. But it's also a little awkward if I, like, don't go for this here, I think. Alright. So yes, I will use this. We'll pick up a new Savannah. I've played my land. And we'll see how much this hurts my opponent. Like, there's some worlds where this isn't that bad, because they just, like, play a Birchlore Ranger or Heritage Druid or something, and then just, like, vomit stuff. Okay. This is decent pressure. But like this is very much expected pressure. Yeah, this is just a tapped land this turn, so I can play Endurance as the largest creature on the battlefield next turn. Alright. I take 4. Go to 14. This is fine. Oh yeah, there's Birchlaw Rangers, so my opponent's mana problems have just been fixed. Okay, that's Wirewood plus Elvish Visionary, which is very bad for me. Alright, land go. Opponent very much favored right now. I still have a Savannah left in my deck. I still have, like, Basic Forest as well. See whether or not my opponent exposes the Wirewood Symbiote in combat. They might not even attack with very many creatures this turn, because they might just, like, use their mana to bounce Elvish Visionaries. That's an Allosaurus Shepherd, which is pretty threatening. There's a mana. Untap. Sure. Yeah, I guess it doesn't really matter too much what they untap. Alright, let's just always yield to that. That is occurring. Now, this Wirewood Symbiote's ability has been used, so I can kill an elf in combat. Opponent's spiraling out of control here. Okay, cool. I can go ahead and fetch. Grab Savannah. Cast Endurance. I am very good with putting all of these lands back into my opponent's deck and potentially having them draw them again. Alright, so I probably have to block Wirewood Symbiote to have my top deck removal spells do relevant things. Birchlaw Rangers is really good, though, right now. But I think the Wirewood's got to go, or I'll drown in Elvish Visionary card advantage eventually. I'm also, like, very worried about the short term, too, though. Like, let's be clear here. Dryad Arbor, not great. We're chilling. I'll be very happy to trade Dryad Arbor for another body, but I have neither piece of my combo currently. Opponent can go 1 mana. Now, opponent can get a Gaia's Cradle with this, actually, in this turn cycle, and then, like, kill me next turn. Either one of these were exposed in combat last turn to let me deal with that. Alright, we're making some mana. Another Elvish Visionary. An opponent will take no attacks, and they have 1/2 Gaia's Cradle. And my life's sad? Yeah, I believe my life is sad. Yeah, so I think I lose this one for not taking literally half a second longer to think about my turn in the previous game where I just made the wrong block. There's the double activation with Birchlaw Rangers to make the 2 mana to get the Gaia's Cradle. And then my opponent just activates and I die. Oh, there's a natural order on top of that. Cool, cool, cool. That grants trample, and I am very much dead. So GG's there. I punted that one away. That's on me. Okay, I have a pretty reasonable looking Maverick-esque hand here. I'm not sure if I want to play out Reclaimer on 1 or just Green Sun on 1. Like, I think this just represents a Dryad Arbor so that I can accelerate into Knight on turn 2. I think I'm into that. Alright. There's a Dryad Arbor. And we'll see what we're playing against. Oh, cool, cool. Probably good with whatever this is. Ooh, Monolith. Monolith makes Wastelanding a little bit less attractive. I still think I do it. So, Wasteland that. Play out the Elvish Reclaimer, and then I can beat for 1. I'm technically probably supposed to make my attack first in case my opponent is playing, like, exactly Warping Wail or Spatial Contortion. But I think in 99.9% of Legacy games, it doesn't matter which one of those I do. Alright. Oops, all Ancient Tombs. Oops, all Grim Monoliths. Opponent's got 6 mana. They can potentially do some nonsense here. But it is not happening. So the land from Elvish Reclaimer enters the battlefield tapped, so I can't immediately Wasteland them again. I think my plan is just, like, Knight of the Reliquary into Armageddon next turn, and I hope that works out in some capacity. This time around, I guess I will go ahead and take this attack. Drop my opponent to 14. Play a Knight, hope for the best. Like, Knight is a Wasteland machine, and I will have a very good amount of power in play as well, but 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 mana. Like, what do you got for me? 'Cause it can be bad. Yeah, I'd say that qualifies as bad. Ooh, they left my Caracas. Uh, so I probably don't get to Armageddon this turn, though. You know, Armageddoning when your opponent has the 10/10 exile 20 cards from your library card in play is a little sketch. So instead, I think we're on Elvish Reclaimer. Do I just bounce this? Like, do I straight up just bounce this, leave it in their hand, and attack them for 1? Do I give them 10 life? Alright, let's say they have a Soul Land at 6 mana. I'm just casting Armageddon next turn. I'm just gonna bounce this shit. That comes back to bite me, it makes the video better, right? Alright, they're at 9. Like, the worlds where they can cast that thing again involve an insane number of cards. It's like Soul Land, multiple Voltaic Keys or something. Yeah, like Voltaic Key is only +1 mana here, right? Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm just into like Armageddon and then hit my opponent for 4. Probably twice. A lot of it depends on what they do with the Ancient Tombs this turn. Alright, cool. There's a Bojuka Bog. Alright, so this Dryad Arbor is about to die. 1, 2, 3, 4. Armageddon 3 lands away. Delicious. They're going to untap a Grim Monolith in response, which is fine. That means that they are on a 1-turn clock. Because this is about to be a 3/4. I'll go ahead and do this so that Crucible can't be relevant. Back you down to 2. Ancient Tomb is no longer a land that matters. And now we have Armageddon versus the Cloudpost deck. Let's go. There is the formal concession. I want Collector Oof versus this deck. I probably want Force of Vigor. The game goes late enough some portion of the time where Titania is fine, and then it's a question of like how good is Prismatic Ending. I don't know that I'm really interested in Bojuka Bog. Like, it can be relevant versus some Crucible of Worlds scenarios, but I'm not like super expecting that. Or if I am, it's a pretty late game thing. How much of this do I actually want? Like, I don't really need endurances. Those can pretty safely go. That gets these 3 cards, and then it's just like tweaking numbers. Even in boarding in Oof, I don't think I get rid of Mox Diamond. Like, Oof is there as a green sun target for certain scenarios, not something that I want to lean on. Never these, never these, never these, never these, never these, never these, never these. So I have these things plus lands to look at. Maze of Ith is medium. Bojuka Bog is medium. The problem with Maze of Ith is that like some of their things have on attack triggers like Annihilator that are just a problem for me. Unsure without more matchup experience what I'm supposed to do here. I can probably go down some number of Swords to Plowshares. Like, they're not great. They're not going to have targets a good amount of time, and I can just attack my opponents early, like maps and stuff instead. I think I'm on board with that, and then I'm not sure about this. Like, maybe Knight is just better in this matchup, and I don't want to bother with that, and I keep both of these flex lands. Yeah, if my opponent ends up, like, being a Thought-Not-Seer Reality Smasher sort of build, I've boarded a little bit wrong. Otherwise, this is fine. Mox Diamond, discard Yavimaya, play Yavimaya, Elvish Reclaimer, crop rotation away a land, wasteland my opponent immediately. Also, like, there's a Force of Vigor involved, potentially. This is going to be a keep. It can be a little awkward in some circumstances, but it's pretty good against a lot of openers. Ramunap. Don't mind if I do. Always Mox Diamond, discarding Yavimaya. Always Yavimaya. Always one Elvish Reclaimer. From there, it's trickier for whether or not I go for the Wasteland immediately. I think I'm into it. Crop rotation. Get rid of Yavimaya. Grab Wasteland. Immediately Wasteland my opponent. I have a 3/4 in play on turn 1. I have artifact mana covered via Force of Vigor. And I'm not too far away from doing some other cool shit. Alright, there is a Grim Monolith. I can remove this in my opponent's upkeep if I want to. With very few things that my opponent can do with 5 colorless mana at instant speed. I don't think I'm going to mess around with that. With a land drop here, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to pitch Ramunap or not. Like, part of me just wants to play Elvish Reclaimer, get rid of this, and then whack my opponent for 3, then 6, then 6. Because, like, with Ancient Tomb as their land, it's super awkward. I think I'm into pitching Reclaimer. Like, sometimes you just gotta be the beatdown. Be the beatdown you want to see in the world. Alright, there's Reclaimer. Upkeep, Force of Vigor. Just getting rid of Grim Monolith. Pitching that. Okay, cool. What you got? Nothing. I am fine just attacking here, I think. Like, I can attack once and then get a Wasteland and get rid of this Ancient Tomb, but in the vast majority of scenarios not involving, like, an Ensnaring Bridge or something like that, I think I'm just good. Oh, okay. Opponent does have middling size Eldrazi. They don't need to know about this until after combat. Send them on in. If opponent blocks, I assume the answer is yes. There's a Yavimaya Cradle of Growth. Yeah, this is just going to be Wasteland. If I attack Yavimaya, the Ancient Tomb has to tap for damage if my opponent wants to tap it. Or do I just choke them on a lower mana amount? So it's like lower mana amount or guaranteed life loss. I think I'm into guaranteed life loss. That's another one of those where I could sit down and like plot out every possible draw that my opponent could have, but I think I'm into the guaranteed life loss. There's worlds where my opponent can stall me out here. I didn't think about second Glimmer Post, putting my opponent to a higher life total where an Elvish Reclaimer attack doesn't kill them anymore. That specific line, coupled with Thought-Knot Seer, might make going after Ancient Tomb correct. But like maybe it's specifically Glimmer Post that's awkward. Oh, that can get Tormod's Crypt and shrink my elves down to small creatures here. That's pretty awkward. I also get taken off of Night by this line. Yeah, that's a little scary. Okay. Well, this has now gotten awkward. I probably need to attack both at Karn so my opponent can't tutor. My opponent, like, going and finding an Ensnaring Bridge is awful for me. But by attacking both at Karn, I don't actually force my opponent to blow the Tormod's Crypt this turn. Makes this Windswept Heath that I have slightly worth. Oh. Okay, my opponent is going to do that just to keep this off. Sure. That's fine. So this can be a Dryad Arbor. Right, I haven't used Dryad Arbor yet. That's fine. Okay, 2, 4, 5, 6. Opponent is starting to get to scary Eldrazi mana. I can absolutely lose this game. Woohoo. Endbringer. That makes wanting to fetch Dryad Arbor a lot sketchier. That just, like, pings. This Karn's a problem. Endbringer's a problem. If I draw a Swords to Plowshares for Endbringer, I want to have Dryad Arbor. I have some swords in. Okay. I don't think I'm going to fetch Dryad Arbor. I think I want to have the flexibility. I don't know, like, if Dryad Arbor dies, though, it potentially grows Elvish Reclaimer. I can 100% kill Karn by sacrificing a body, but then I'll basically be down to Elvish Reclaimer versus Endbringer. Maybe I do fetch up Dryad Arbor, but there's some worlds where I just hold one of my creatures back to rotate the Dryad Arbor away. Okay. We take that. Alright. So Endbringer is out of the way. That does increase my opponent's life total, making this stuff more live. 1 land in graveyard, I can put a second in there. Not super amazing to do so right now. This kills Karn, sends 1 at my opponent, but I currently think my opponent is favored. I think this is going to be a long game. Like, I thought it was looking like a very short game. But opponent's untapped Glimmer Post, fuck me, was horrifyingly good. So this is probably crop rotation for Maze of Ith. Okay, I guess it kind of depends, right? So I can attack with all my creatures. If my opponent doesn't block an Elvish Reclaimer, I crop rotation for a fetch land and kill my opponent. If they block Dryad Arbor, I win. If they block an Elvish Reclaimer, I just get Maze of Ith. Alternatively, I can just work towards getting the Dark Depths combo, but this is pretty good versus that. Yeah, I think I'm sending here. All right, get in there. All right, there is a block on a Reclaimer. So I think I go fetch, crop rotation. Am I fine with crop rotating away the Dryad Arbor? Like, do I want to, how much damage do I want to deal to my opponent here? I think since this is about to be pinged by Endbringer, I just get rid of this. I think I'm just good with that. Grabbing the Maze of Ith. Maze of Ith, my creature out of combat. Hit my opponent for 1, put them to 4, and then start really putting the pressure on them with these creatures. Like, now I can attack with both of these. Maze of Ith, the one that my opponent blocks. Activate the other one. And go from there. Like, long term, I can Thespian stage multiple Maze of Iths. This is very much a nail biter. Fuck me. God damn it. These Glimmer Posts are a pain in my butt. Because this allows opponent to like cast things off the Ancient Tomb in a way that I was hoping they would not be able to. Okay, yeah, that's coming in for damage now. Which occurs, and then my opponent gets to untap this. Dramatic Ending not looking great here. I think I've just got to chill and do a crop rotation type thing in this turn cycle. Which isn't great for me, because like my opponent is just ticking up towards Eye of Ugin. Yeah, I don't really want Prismatic Ending in my deck in the numbers that I do. I want crop rotation, or not crop rotation, Source of Plowshares. And every Glimmer Poster of Asuva from here is just very spooky. Alright, this is a lot of mana. What are we looking at? 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 towards Eldrazi. Oh. Cool. Yikes. Scary amount of damage. I'd probably do this. And it's just a question of, like, do I get Yavimaya so I have 3 mana, or do I just get, like, a Thespian stage so I can copy Maze of Ith if I draw another land? I think I need to copy Maze of Ith. Also plays for some Dark Depth stuff, but leaves me really light on actual factual mana. I think I'm going to lose this game. Which is not something that I expected given how good it was going early on. But my opponent's, like, what was that, like turn 3 Glimmer Post play. Ended up being really good. Oh, this is target of a spell. Let's get rid of that. Prismatic Endings probably are coming out of the deck for the next game. Okay. So the good news is I'm alive. The bad news is Endbringer kills me very quickly, just with the pinging ability. Like, just totally ignoring combat. This puts me to 7. I take 5 on their turn, then fetch with Windswept Heath, and then I'm dead after that. Oh, there was more. Okay. Yeah, I'm dead. That one maybe was winnable with some different lines early on. Okay, so now I know that my opponent is more on the Eldrazi side than, like, the Mystic Forge side. The Collector Oof can go out for a Swords to Plowshares. I feel good about that. How do I feel about the Armageddons? They're okay. Like, keeping my opponent off of copying Glimmer Posts and stuff is pretty good, as long as I can be ahead early. Don't want the Force of Vigors or, like, Chalice of the Void, because, like, I'm going to have at least 4 Swords to Plowshares. Some number of Prismatic Endings come out. Grim Monolith is still a thing, and on 3 mana, this can still, like, answer some opposing creatures. It's just, like, not particularly good, but it is a way to clear a Chalice. I think I'm comfortable with 4 ways to clear a Chalice, and now I'm thinking about, like, Titania and Endurance. Ojuka Bog probably comes out, or Titania as a late-game Green Sun target. I think I'm fine with that. Like, it's possible this card doesn't matter, and I should just play this for, like, early Eldrazi Mimics, or, whatever 3/2 is called, Matter Reshaper. How quickly does this go off? Turn 1 stage, Mox Diamond, discard Caracas, Green Sun for Dryad Arbor. 3 mana in play on turn 1, turn 2 Dark Depths. Seems legit. Damn near impossible to beat for my opponent. They have to open up on a Wasteland and Wasteland my Thespian Stage blind. Alright, opponent kept on 6. Mox Diamond, discard Caracas, Thespian Stage, Green Sun for 0, grabbing Dryad Arbor. Your move. You've got a Wasteland, Thespian Stage, or I make a 20/20. Okay. That's fine. Like, I will have 21 damage. Force of Vigor's kind of whatever. I will be making this immediately because of the existence of Wasteland in my opponent's deck. And this is 21 damage for a potential kill next turn, minus another Glimmer Post or Vesuva. But my opponent probably doesn't have an actual answer to Merit Lodge in their colorless deck. Now, they could have a utility land. Like, it's not crazy for them to have a Maze of Ith or that sort of card, but I'm not expecting it. Okay, there is another Glimmer Post, which does buy a turn. There is a Grim Monolith, which I hope I just draw a green card so that I can Force a Vigor that in my opponent's upkeep. Yeah, there we go. I don't see a reason why I need to play a Ramunap Excavator or a reason why I need to play a Maze of Ith. I will just go ahead and play Savannah. Attack my opponent for 21. And we'll cast Force of Vigor, targeting Grim Monolith as the only target, pitching the Ramunap. Possible that plays wrong because of Ensnaring Bridge specifically, but my opponent looks to be an Eldrazi aggro deck. Okay, and that's good enough to get the concession, and we're up to 2-2 right now. Okay, what are we looking at? 2 Dark Depths, one of which can be pitched to Mox Diamond. So this is potentially just like Mox Diamond, pitch a Dark Depths, play Windswept Heath, cast Green Sun for X equals 1 on turn 1. That's probably fine and worth keeping. And then, like, the more interesting questions become, like, what land to get with Windswept Heath. I don't, like, super want to get Wastelanded or anything. But, like, this guarantees my mana fixing already. I don't know. Like, if I get Wastelanded, I have a big fat butt creature. Maybe Savannah is fine for that reason. It's hard to say for sure. Like, I don't have a ton of reps with this deck. I don't know, like, the multi-card sequences to watch out for. So, for example, like, Force of Will into Wasteland on this is, like, a thing that could have occurred. Basic Island. Main phase Brainstorm? What? Okay. A little weird. I'd be facing down like a show and tell or something. I don't know. Like, that's still weird, though. Okay. Whatever. This is another Elvish Reclaimer. I wonder if my land drop was a mistake. Like, there's Armageddon to think about, but there's also Force Pitch Brainstorm. Third Force of Will. But there's also top decked Who's He What's It to think about. Thespian Stage. Alright. You have more basics. I assume the answer is yes. Okay, it is Show and Tell. Wrong. Fable of the Mirror Breaker, which is very good versus my whole Armageddon plan. Hey, do you remember when my opponent used 3 Force of Wills in the first 2 turns of the game, and then I drew Crop Rotation and just won on the spot? Yeah, I do too. Alright. Play Dark Depths. Tap for green. I think I'm going to tap the Wasteland for colorless preemptively. Cast Crop Rotation, getting rid of the Wasteland. Should be good. This grabs Thespian Stage. I'm just going to go ahead and copy immediately. I don't know exactly what my opponent is doing over there. I'm guessing they don't have many outs to this. Keep the one with no counters. And minus, I guess, Brazen Borrower. I feel like my opponent is dead. I don't know. Like, are they just show and tell with Fable of the Mirror Breaker? Because, like, the rest of this feels like show and tell. And the timing of that Brainstorm was, like, super fucking weird on turn 1. Like, that's the timing of a combo player who thinks they're going off next turn. Or who is, like, a Lotus Petal away from just making a turn 1. Okay. How do I board? How am I supposed to board here? So, like, I know... I guess let's start with, like, what is never coming in. I don't care about Leyline. I don't care about Mindbreak Trap. I don't think I care about Sylvan Safekeeper. My opponent will probably have few to no answers to an actual Merit Lodge. They might be able to kill some of this other stuff. And then it's just a question of, like, where do I fall on this other stuff? Opponent's playing cantrips, so that makes some things like Chalice of the Void less necessary, so Force of Vigor becomes something that I care about less. Force of Vigoring, you know, a Fable of the Mirror Breaker is not something I'm super excited about. I probably don't play that card. I probably don't play Collector Oof just for Lotus Petals, again, because I'm doing Mox Diamond stuff. So that leaves me on, like, Prismatic Endings for tokens and Fables, and maybe some other weird stuff, like a Sylvan, or not a Sylvan Library, they're blue-red. I think I'm keeping all my Swords to Plowshares in case, like, there's Murktide Regents in there, which I know is a crazy fucking thing to say, but, like, it's Legacy. I don't know that I'm sideboarding. I'm, like, kind of eyeing the Titania as something that I could put in off a Show and Tell that maybe steals a win if I, like, play an Armageddon afterwards or something. I'm a little unsure about how many Endurances I want to play. Like, again, I did not see very many cards from my opponent, so I don't know for sure. Like, if they're on things like Murktide Regent, like, Endurance is totally reasonable. Ramunap is probably medium. Board out a Ramunap for a Titania and not play Prismatic Ending. It's round 5. Like, we have to attempt the Titania Armageddon screenshot for Twitter, right? Ooh, the Dryad Arbor in hand makes this rough. The hand is also just incredibly slow. Like, this is just turn 2 Reclaimer, no combo pieces in hand. I don't think I'm into this one. How about this one? This one's going to be a keep. I think I'm interested in throwing back the basic planes. I don't know if my opponent is going to be mooning. Like, they might. If they moon, I want both of these. But because if I top deck Ace... I can just throw back the Wasteland. Like, what am I talking about? I don't know. Like, there's got to be volcanic islands in there, and some portion of the time they start with one, right? Alternatively, this is Savannah if I control this, right? So maybe it's Windswept Heath. But that, like, does require me to play both of those lands, which I maybe don't want to do. I don't know. Again, I think that's a turn that I could spend a very long time analyzing. Not even a turn. I'm also not sure what this Green Sun does. Like, some portion of the time it just gets Dryad Arbor to accelerate me. And some portion of the time I'm supposed to use it on turn 2 to get Reclaimer. Right, no shuffle on the Ponder. Do not want that second Wasteland. Alright. How do I feel about Dryad Arbor? If I get Dryad Arbor, a top-decked Depths is better. My Knight is better. I think that's enough to make me want to do it. I don't think this gets Force of Willed or anything ever. But my opponent also could just have red removal. That's a thing that can occur. Brainstorm happens. So something that hasn't come up this league. Every land's a forest. You can rotate away a forest, so Knight of the Reliquary can rotate away wastelands. This Otawara, different art than what I'm used to. And then that was a shuffle to get rid of the stuff off the Brainstorm, which makes sense. I'm going to play Knight of the Reliquary. I kind of think Knight of the Reliquary, like, playing Knight of the Reliquary is wrong in some scenarios, though. Because, like, it's the better card to put in off of a Show and Tell. But, like, I haven't gotten confirmation that my opponent is actually playing Show and Tell. Like, I just have the vibe. Yuri? Oh, I fucked up my last turn. I was supposed to Wasteland Otawara and play Elvish Reclaimer. I was just, like, not used to this art. And then fucked that up. That's on me. Yeah, I might lose the game for that. Yeah, I'm going to lose the game for that decision. Because, like, the land that I get off and Elvish Reclaimer enters tapped. So I can't use that to just effectively get Caracas. Yep. Okay, I punted this game. Yeah, I punted this game. I guess my next card could be exactly Caracas. In which point, I'm not actually dead. But life's pretty bad. Like, going to have a 1 in 50 chance at drawing that card. And, like, a crop rotation isn't an out or anything. Alright, so let's go ahead and just do a rotation here to just grow future knights or something. Or if things go poorly. And I can get a little cute in getting a flagstones here. 1, 2, 3, which grabs me a Savannah, which will turn crop rotation into an out. Now I have a 5 in 49 chance instead. All right, miss. All right, opponent, your funny art got you a game there. Okay, I'll be boarding the same way. Swords to Plowshares and Prismatic Ending are not particularly strong, but I think I like swords better. I guess my opponent like plays a Grizzlebrand or something, like, or Fury, I guess is a better example. Yeah, but I win that game if I Wasteland the Otawara, I think. Because then I put in Knight, Knight bounces Emrakul, and I'm so far ahead. Is this hand good enough? Turn 1 Dryad Arbor, turn 2 Knight. I have Titania to put in off Show and Tell. Kind of whatever. I will keep this. I'm not excited about it. It plays a turn 2 Knight. It's a respectable Magic card. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to play around a fast Blood Moon here. It's probably pretty free for me to grab Forest with this first one. So I think I will do so. And then grab the Dryad Arbor. Alright, cool. That resolved very quickly, so opponent probably doesn't have counterspells. Could be wrong. I've definitely made a couple of mistakes today that, like, I realized half a second later. I'm actually pretty happy with that second Knight draw. So it's possible, again, I'm making mistakes here. I'm supposed to play the Windswept Heath to grow this to a 4/4 so Fury can't kill both of these. Not super happy with my play today. Okay, that's an undoing of some mana. That's a Magus of the Moon. Yeah, that's fine. That is less fine. Yeah, and I would have gotten basic planes with that as well. So I could have played the follow-up Knight. Yeah, not happy with my play. Oh, right, they can't kill the Dryad Arbor. Okay, yeah. Alright, better lucky than good, I guess. So I absolutely take this. Unfortunately, now this, like, fetch land is not going to go to the graveyard, so, like, this Knight will also be susceptible to Fury, unless I attack with Dryad Arbor. I have a second basic forest. Don't have a second basic forest. Unfortunate. Like, I kind of want to attack with this Dryad Arbor, because then, like, Fury never kills this. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Get in there, Dryad Arbor. I should have done this attack pre-playing the Knight, though. Okay, cool. I don't know, maybe that attack's wrong, because, like, there's worlds where I top deck a Mox and can play Titania. Where am I at on Swords to Plowshares? 4. So at some point, I can just, like, tutor up a Dark Depths, remove Magus, create a 20/20. That's a thing. But it takes me off of important colors, so I don't think I want to do that right now. Let's go ahead and bash in for 4. Opponent goes to 16. I don't think it matters too much which land I play. There are very niche scenarios involving the Magus of the Moon getting removed, where it does matter. Okay, there is the Show and Tell. I was going to put in the Titania. I currently cannot cast. That was a Show and Tell for a Fury. Okay, opponent is killing my Knight. This is going to return Dryad Arbor. So when Dryad Arbor ultimately dies, I will be able to get a 5/3 elemental. Ooh. So Fury has double strike, which is awkward for me. I'm not sure, but I think I kill Magus of the Moon, make a 5/3 elemental, make my attacks, Maze of Ith, whatever Fury blocks, and go from there. That seems fine, and then I can, like, force damage through with elementals or whatever on a future turn as well. I don't know. Is getting rid of the Fury better? I just attack with a 5/3? No, I don't think so. I think this just opens up too many of my resources. Alright. Actually, do I even want a Maze of Ith this turn? I maybe just want to do this and just get 5 damage in this turn. Guaranteed. Yes, I would like to do that. Alright, this. Throw red. Crash on in. Opponent goes to 13. And I'm not expecting any split second cards or anything that make me really have to just go and fire this off now. We'll see what my opponent can do. I get to fetch. Table of the Mirror Breaker. That's fine. Like, the bodies are good here. But now, like, most of my top decks and such are on in a way that's very favorable for me. Elemental time. Grab a Savannah. Galvamaya is whatever. Just attack with all 3 of these, whatever Fury blocks. I junk with Maze of Ith. That seems fine. Send them, and I don't care if Dryad Arbor dies, because it just, like, puts me in a better position. That's fine. I Maze of Ith this creature. I deal 5 to my opponent, and convert Dryad Arbor into a 5/3 elemental, which should be pretty good for me. Already made my land drop. That'll be a turn for me. So my opponent can do some filtering here. So there are worlds where they can assemble something gross. Okay, they've junked an Otawara, which I guess makes sense. And we get the concession there and end up with a 3-2 league. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Not bad. I think if I played a little better tonight, I could afford one. I made a couple of errors that I caught pretty much immediately. But I still made them. So, like, it is what it is. I don't know, ultimately, that this was the best Armageddon deck that we could have put together. It was a fine Armageddon deck. Like, the nice thing about it was that we were a functional deck that did not rely on Armageddon resolving as the primary part of the game plan. So, like, with Armageddon stacks, like a mono-white Crucible of Worlds deck, like, you need the Crucible, you need the Armageddon, you need multiple lock pieces working together to really execute your plan, and sometimes you're reliant on something like a Timeless Dragon to ultimately put up a win. Whereas here, we had fast combo hands, we had creature beatdown hands, we had just blow up all your lands hands, like, we attacked from a couple of different directions. Ultimately, I'm not sure that Armageddon is better than some of the other things that existed in, like, this shell. Like, maybe having Oof and Safekeeper in the main deck would have been better overall, although I didn't really miss either of those cards this league at all. Maybe you can lean a little bit more into Titania, like maybe you can fit the Titania or maybe even 2 into the main deck. I'm not sure how I feel about Life from the Loam. Ramunap Excavator Recursion of Lands wasn't nearly as relevant as I thought it was going to be in this league. Maybe 2 of those is a mistake. And maybe 3 Armageddons is too many. Like, maybe you keep that as a 2 of. Like, maybe it's a sideboard option. Not 100% sure. But there's definitely something here. And, like, green-white depths is a very established and very good list. Like, I essentially used a recent challenge, I think it was challenge top 8 deck list to, like, construct the core of this deck, kind of taking on some of the things that Corey sent me as feedback as well. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to go ahead and call it a day here. If you did, please click the like button on the way out. It helps out a lot. If you end up wanting to check out this deck list, please do so via the Moxfield link in the video description. And if you want to get one of your own sweet decks on the channel, that information is available in the video description. Have a great rest of the day. See ya!